Okay, sure. I'll go. I'm ready.
And he's got the nerve to tell that guy to come to us. I'm like,
Call to the order the regular meeting of the Hammond Capital Improvements Board for October 18th, 2021. If it's okay, we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a brief moment for General Powell, who passed away today. After. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will clerk call the roll, please?
Flores,
Here.
Krasinski,
Here.
Prieto, Spitali, Tyler,
Here.
Inez,
here,
Button.
Here, let the record reflect there are 6 present and 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the last meeting minutes. Is there, well, hope you've all had a chance to look over the meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
so move.
Councilwoman Venez moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Tyler. Is there any discussion on the previous meeting minutes? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto, Spitali, Tyler,
Yes.
Inez,
Yes,
Button.
Yes, motion carries 6 present, 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is a report on the work study session. If the members agree, I will just give a brief report. We went through the agenda items, adding the Pledge of Allegiance, and we talked about each of the individual items. Wasn't really a lot to talk about until we got to item number 8, which was the funding allocations for consideration tonight. No final decision was met. We gave a brief discussion about the Hoffman Avenue on-street trail project, and then the city engineer put together a small video to give the members a feel for what the actual project boundaries were, and some of discussion was kind of talked about with regard to the area that we were impacting and the improvements for the Marquette Greenway. Any other discussion on the work study session? Oh, I'm sorry. We also discussed the scoring criteria for projects that were have since been submitted to this board outside of the regular projects that we had begun when the board was formed. And there were a list of some 12 to 15 projects that we reviewed, at least pretty detailed in the early end, and more of a global discussion thereafter. Any other discussion on the work study session? Thank you. Next item, item 5, a report from our esteemed controller, Megan Flores, on funding.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the council meeting last week, Mayor released fourth quarter budget numbers for the various budgets that are put through the cheese grater, as he likes to call it, and the Capital Improvement Board received $2,845,534.96. That takes our total 2021 budget to $10,994,888.61. I provided each of the members with an updated report. This one is split into 2 reports, whereas before they were consolidated into one. The larger report is listing all of the projects that we have passed green sheets for, and the smaller listing is the Capital Improvement Board projects for consideration. So these are projects that we've either inherited just through the years and with this creation of this board more recently, or we've been approached with since our board has formed. If there was an allocated amount that was able to be included, I included that, and then if there was a project score available for that project, I included that on this listing as well. To date, we have allocated $9,313,612.90. The ARPA plan, as I mentioned at the last meeting, was passed by council. And included in that were various projects that we had made allocations to. That totaled $1,234,094. So those dollars will be shifted over to the ARPA funds and will be released back into our budget, which allows us to increase our total allocated funds to $2,915,369.71. And as I mention every time I give this report, that is not reflective of the current cash flow situation for our fund. This is just what we've allocated to for future by green sheets and what we've received thus far.
Thank you, Commissioner Flores. Any questions for Commissioner Flores? On the 8.5 by 11 sheet that lists the projects, so it lists allocated amount. Is that these are not projects that are, some of these projects are in this report and some are not?
So these are reflective of the green sheet amounts. So anything that was on a green sheet has been, and the correlating project, I tried to summarize it as best I can in that CIB project section.
So we should probably have a side discussion. So for example, Erie from Eaton to Becker is $1.2 million. That's a projected amount of what we think that project would cost. I don't.
I was looking at
Is
the
there a
larger
different
report, I'm
sheet that
sorry.
I'm not looking at?
No, this is you're talking about the projects for consideration sheeting, right? The smaller one?
Was there two 8.5 by 11 sheets?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just really bad with measurements.
Oh, you're fine. Okay.
I just pick which one. It looks larger when I go print.
So that project, for example, hasn't been green sheeted, right? It hasn't been.
Correct.
Yeah. So it really is.
And none of these projects are being deducted from our available balance. So this
None
is
of the
completely
project on
separate.
this.
Yes, that's why I broke them into two separate reports now.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So none of so these are projects that are for consideration. In fact, there are the two projects that are on tonight's agenda are on this list.
Yes.
That will eventually get moved over
Correct.
to the larger sheet.
Correct.
That helps. And for the board, it would be item number 6 and item number 13. That if the board agrees to fund those two projects, they would come off of this list and on to the larger allocated.
So for those two specific projects, Mr. President, I did go ahead and factor them into my numbers today, but the only signifying factor is CIB approved. Both of them should say pending. So those are the only two that say pending right now. So I will remove them from the projects for consideration list if approved tonight, and then I'll adjust that status.
Yeah, this is fantastic. That helps a lot. So I'm going to take a shot at amending the smaller of the two reports to help you clarify.
Okay.
This is really awesome.
Perfect, thank you.
This helps. I can't tell you how much it helps me. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Staying on the same 8.5 by 11 sheet,
Okay.
is there any way eventually you and the staff at engineering,
Yep.
Jonathan and Mark, can give us additional guidance as far as best guess as far as what it would cost?
Yeah.
Like you said, like the water garden ribbon curb might be $20,000. I mean, $30,000. But if we have that kind of dollars left at close to the end of the year, and we could toss something out there in order to try to make some people happy and be fair, in the mayor's words, around the whole city, it would help go a long way, I think. And again, some of the guides would have to come from engineering with their best guesses
Yeah.
as to what it would be.
And that is consistent with what we talked about in the work study, that, you know, the amounts need to be provided so the board has clear, at least a clearer understanding. These will be, you know, rules of thumb, or, you know, as the design progresses, we will have better ideas of how much projects cost. Right?
Sure. And with what happened on the, what is it, 11 by 17 sheet, you know, we can now know that there's some additional total unallocated funds potentially available, which will help us towards the end of the year as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other comments about funding?
Thank you, Megan.
Super, thank you. Next item on the agenda is matters from mayor, council, and other departments. Anybody have anything for us? Thank you. Just note that Phil Talon, Chief of Staff, is present, Matt Muda from the Sanitary District, and Mark Gordish from Engineering. Thank you for coming. Next item is item 7, old business. Any old business? Seeing none. Item 8, new business. A is the funding allocation for Hoffman Avenue, which should say Hoffman Street, my correction. Right, Hoffman Street. Streets run east and west. I'm sure that I didn't give that appropriately to the clerk. Hoffman Street, on-street trail, with First Group Engineering in the amount of $20,000. Is there a motion to approve the funding allocation?
Mr. President, motion to approve.
Commissioner Krasinski makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Venez to approve the funding allocation for Hoffman Street on-street trail design. Is there any discussion? I would just say that this is a on-street trail portion of a bike trail on Hoffman Street between Torrance and the NIPSCO right-of-way that parallels the South Shore Trail near the city of East Chicago's border with Hammond. It is for the design work, for pavement markings, and we hope to have that project solicited for pavement markings for 2022. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto, Spitali. Yes. Tyler,
Yes.
Venez,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 6 present, 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is item 8B, funding allocation Marquette Greenway, Kennedy to Klein with First Group Engineering in the amount of $322,950. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Councilman Spitali. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Krasinski for the funding allocation Marquette Greenway, Kennedy to Klein with First Group Engineering for design in the amount of $322,950. Is there any discussion? I would say that the project is design engineering for the Marquette Greenway Trail segment, which would be about 95% of the Marquette Greenway constructed through Hammond. This is the segment that goes north of the Indiana Toll Road between Kennedy Avenue and Klein through the Shirley Hines Land Trust and Nature Conservancy property that will eventually connect to Gary and then to the state of Michigan. I would also say that the city controller and the mayor have approved the funding allocation for this project and also the previous project. So I did forget to mention that in the earlier comment. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto, Spitali. Yes. Tyler,
Yes.
Venez,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 6 present and 1 absent. Is there any other new business? Any public expression? You're checking, Joanne. No public expression. So the next meeting, if we have one, is currently scheduled for November 1st. That's the first Monday in November. At this point, I'm not, well, it's hard to say whether we'll have any business for this board on November 1st, but I will certainly advise the board when that is known. I'm contemplating a 4:30 start for the work study session, but in light of what happened earlier today, I'm not sure what's the board's pleasure.
I won't ask any more questions.
No, you can't promise me that.
Mr. President, I would ask for the full hour on the 1st, just to review this project, or these project listings in detail and make any amendments.
Love it. Thank you. So we'll stick with 4 o'clock for next time. Thank you to the board. If there's nothing further for this board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Krasinski with Councilman Tyler seconded and thirded by Councilwoman Vines. All in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. I'm getting there, man. It's warming up. For the plan commission. Thanks for coming, Bill. Hey, guys. Hope it was useful.